At 17, a Roman citizen could swear a single oath that would consume the next 20 years of his life. He would carry crushing loads on forced marches, train with wooden weapons heavier than real steel, and share every meal and every fight with the same 7 men. A rare few rose all the way to centurion. Most never came close, and what separated them says everything about how Rome's legions actually worked. For a typical 17-year-old in the early Roman Empire, the journey began with a formal selection process called the probatio. Examining officers looked for specific physical markers: a height of at least 170 centimeters, broad shoulders, and sharp vision. While literacy was not mandatory, recruits who could read and write immediately caught the eye of officers seeking future clerks and standard bearers. Under the military reforms of Augustus, this opportunity was strictly reserved for Roman citizens. To a poor provincial or a young man from an overcrowded Italian farm, the legion offered a stable salary, regular meals, and a promise of land upon retirement. But this was not a temporary job, it was a permanent legal transition. Once cleared by the examiners, the recruit stood before his officers to swear the sacramentum. This sacred military oath bound him directly to the emperor, stripping him of basic civilian legal protections and placing his life under absolute military authority. Depending on the century and the frontier, whether stationed along the wet forests of the Rhine or the deserts of Syria, this single promise redefined his entire existence. Training did not begin with the sword, it began with the feet. The Roman military prioritized group formation over individual heroics, making the disciplined military step the first skill to master. During a grueling 4-month training cycle, recruits learned to march in perfect unison, covering 29 kilometers in 5 hours at a standard pace. An ordered quick march forced them to cover 35 kilometers in that same time frame, carrying 20 kilograms of training gear on their backs. Only after mastering the march did recruits handle weapons. Instructors issued wicker shields and heavy wooden swords designed to be twice as heavy as the actual iron gladius and scutum. This deliberate imbalance built upper body strength, ensuring that real combat gear felt light and responsive later on. Recruits practiced against a fixed wooden stake during the post-drill, learning to deliver lethal thrusts while keeping their shield close to protect the soldier to their left. Slashing was forbidden. Only the thrust could penetrate armor. To this combat practice, commanders added heavy engineering labor. Recruits dug defensive trenches, processed timber, and built mock fortifications as part of their core military education, not as side tasks. From sunrise to sunset, the regimen forced constant exertion. The training did not merely prepare a young man for war, it systematically wore out individual weakness, remaking the recruit into a highly disciplined, cohesive component of a vast military machine. Once assigned to an active century, the newly minted legionary moved his gear into the contubernium, the basic 8-man tent or barracks unit that would dictate his existence for the next 2 decades. Within these cramped, wooden-walled rooms or leather tents, private space ceased to exist. 8 soldiers slept, ate, and lived side by side, sharing a single cooking pot, a grinding stone for their daily grain ration, and a pack mule to transport their heavy leather tent and tools on the march. Daily life inside a frontier fort like Vindolanda along the northern edge of the empire was a continuous cycle of maintenance and manual labor. Survival depended on the upkeep of gear. Soldiers spent hours grinding wheat by hand, oiling iron helmets to ward off rust, and sharpening the heavy blades of their gladii. They stitched torn leather straps on their armor and hammered iron hobnails into the soles of their caligae sandals so that a broken shoe would not cause them to fall out of a march. In this tight-knit group, one veteran soldier, the decanus, oversaw daily chores and organized sentry rotations. 2 non-combatant servants attached to the unit handled the heaviest hauling, tended the pack mule, and fetched fresh water. Yet the work never truly stopped. The Roman military rhythm ensured that hard labor constantly blended with combat readiness. Even on days without patrols, the men rehearsed tactical formations, maintaining a disciplined state of preparation that turned 8 individual bunkmates into a single, lethal weapon. When the horn sounded and the line deployed, the years of physical conditioning met their ultimate test. Roman combat was a mechanical, collective effort rather than a series of individual duels. Before the lines clashed, the century launched a coordinated volley of heavy javelins, the pila, designed to bend upon impact and trap enemy shields. Then the soldiers closed the distance. Locked side by side, they fought behind a wall of rectangular scuta, using the heavy wood to batter opponents before delivering short, fatal thrusts with the gladius. Cohesion was everything. A single soldier stepping out of line to seek personal glory risked opening a gap that could break the entire formation. Yet, battlefield violence was only one of many lethal hazards. Over a 20-year career, a soldier was far more likely to die in his bunk than on the field. Dysentery, malaria, infected wounds, and the sheer physical toll of constant marching in extreme weather killed thousands of men without a sword ever being drawn. To survive this environment of constant decay and violence, the military system relied on strict discipline, while extreme measures like decimation, the execution of 1 in 10 men by lot, remained rare deterrents reserved for mass cowardice. Daily compliance was maintained through simpler, relentless pressure. Minor infractions resulted in floggings, reduced rations, or extra trench digging duty. This unyielding daily order was the soldier's true shield, transforming individual fear into a highly predictable, survival-focused machine. For the resilient soldier who survived the early years of service, the miles gregarious did not have to remain a common foot soldier. The Roman military operated on a structured ladder of advancement that rewarded longevity and capability. A literate soldier might first become an immunis, a specialist exempt from manual labor. True leadership began at the squad level with the decanus, before advancing to the tesserarius, the guard commander who earned 1.5 times the standard wage. The direct pipeline to command was the optio. Appointed directly by the centurion as second in command, the optio maintained order in battle and earned double pay. But the ultimate ambition was the centurionate. Standing as the primary gatekeeper of the legion, a centurion commanded a century of 80 men wielding a vitus or vine stick to enforce discipline. Centurions earned 15 times a basic soldier's salary, reflecting their immense responsibility. At the absolute peak of this infantry ladder stood the primus pilus, the chief centurion. This elite post was attainable only after decades of survival, transforming a once anonymous recruit into a wealthy commander of legendary status. After 20 years of endurance, the final threshold arrived, the honesta missio, the formal honorable discharge that transformed a soldier into a civilian veteran. For those who survived, this moment was a life-altering financial reality. Auxiliaries received bronze diplomas granting citizenship. Legionaries, already citizens, received the premia militia. A common soldier received a cash payout of 12,000 sesterces, while a retired chief centurion, the primus pilus, could secure up to 600,000 sesterces. Many received land parcels in newly established frontier colonies. These substantial resources ensured that years of violent, taxing labor yielded concrete social mobility. Entering retirement, the aging veteran returned to a civilian world he had left as a teenager, exchanging his heavy iron armor for the permanent status and security of a respected provincial landowner. Today, modern militaries still mirror this ancient bargain of sacrifice for status. The legionary traded his youth to build an empire, proving that ultimate power relies not on steel, but on the loyalty of those who carry it. Would you make that trade? Let us know in the comments.